Hi, welcome to Family's Legacy. I'm Nicole, and for the last few weeks, I've been sharing suggestions on how to get started researching your family history. So far, we've only talked about how to use what you already have at home and the information that your family knows to start building your family tree, beginning with yourself. At this point, you might have the dates and locations for some of the births, marriages, and deaths of your family members and other bits of information, but you're bound to start noticing where the gaps of information are in your fledgling tree, and those gaps will have you asking questions and wanting to search for their answers. Did your great-grandpa serve in the Civil War? What was his occupation? What was your great-great-grandma's maiden name? Before you dive into the exciting world of searching genealogical records, consider starting your research with a research question. Without one, it's easy to get sidetracked, distracted, and overwhelmed. Searching the vast amount of records online has certainly become much easier, and tempting as it might be to just type your ancestor's name into the search engine and see what pops up, or scroll through the ever-growing hint notifications on your tree, writing a good research question can make you more efficient and focused, and your research will be more productive and accurate. Formulating a good research question is simple and will start to come easily the more that you write them. So, how do you write one? A good research question is specific and concise. You don't want the question to be too broad, like, who are my ancestors on my maternal grandfather's line? Try something smaller in scope, breaking up the research into more manageable and achievable segments, like establishing the year your great-grandma immigrated to the United States with her family. The elements of a good research question are a concise research objective based on an individual that has been identified by the distinguishable facts that you already know. The objective can focus on relationships, such as determining the siblings of an individual. It could focus on an event, such as establishing the date and location of a marriage. Or it could focus on a biographical aspect, such as determining whether your ancestor owned land or how long they ran the local grocery store for. Develop a research question that includes details which identify your ancestor using distinguishable facts, such as an event. So, Marjorie Abelman, who was born January 10th, 1923. Or a relationship, Marjorie Abelman, the daughter of Adeline Potter. Or a place, Marjorie Abelman, who lived in Cumberland County, Kentucky from 1900 to 1940. Or an occupation, Marjorie Abelman, who was a stenographer for an amusement park in 1930 in Chicago, Illinois. The goal of adding 2 or 3 identifying details like that is to distinguish your ancestor from the rest. So let's write a few research questions using that formula. When and where was blacksmith Blaine Jameson born, son of Amos Jameson and Beth Abernathy? Or, who were the parents of Blaine Jameson, who was born the 20th of April, 1931 in Joliet, Illinois, and died the 16th of June, 1984 in Chicago, Illinois? Who was the mother of Lily Jameson, daughter of Blaine Jameson, who lived in Chicago in 1950? What branch of the military did Amos Jameson, who was born March 13th, 1906 in Jefferson City, Missouri, serve in during World War II? If you're sitting there thinking, well, I just want to learn about my great-grandma's life in general, and maybe you're worried that choosing a research question to focus on will limit your research findings, remember that focusing your research on a specific question won't hinder the breadth of your research. Just because your research question narrows the research to focus on locating the birthplace of an ancestor, for example, doesn't mean that you won't learn far more than just that during the course of your research as you analyze various records. You might locate their naturalization record and learn not only of your ancestor's place of birth, but if they were married, and if so, what the name of their spouse was, when and where their marriage took place, when and where their spouse was born, if they have any children and what their names are, along with the dates and locations of their birthplaces and residences. That same record could also tell you the date that they immigrated to the United States, the name of the ship that they came over on, and the name of the port that they arrived in. It could even include a physical description of your ancestor. All of this information could possibly lead you to your next research question, and it's all there in one record. So just because you're focusing your research on one question at a time doesn't mean you won't be learning plenty of other interesting facts about your ancestor along the way. You can record all of the information you learn in your family tree and your research log as you go. This is another reason why a research log can really come in handy. Not only can you capture all of the detail that you're learning from each record, noting where you found the information, but when you find interesting information that's outside of the scope of your current research question that you'd like to follow up on, you can make a research note in your log to return to that discovery with a new research question at a later point. That way you aren't getting thrown off course from your current research goal, but you won't forget your interest in returning to it. So how do you choose where to begin and what questions to ask when you're just starting out? It's best practice to complete as much research as possible on each ancestor and their family unit before moving on to the next generation. This creates and maintains a solid foundation for your family tree, and a reliable family tree must have a solid foundation that's based on factual, verified sources. And if you maintain these standards as you build upon it, you'll be much less likely to head down the wrong research path in search of somebody that you think is your ancestor and waste your time and efforts due to incorrect information. Besides that, thoroughly researching one ancestor is likely to uncover clues for the next generation, making it easier to continue on to them when the time comes. That's why I would suggest starting with the gaps in your research that you see closest to you, maybe for your parents or your grandparents, and then work your way back from there. Which of these gaps has created questions that you're most curious about, that you're eager and motivated to answer? Start jotting out some of the questions that come to mind using these suggestions as a guide. Save yourself the time and frustration of unfocused research, aimlessly record hopping, and instead start by researching with purpose, one research question at a time. Next up, I'll be talking about what to do once you've established your research questions, so I hope to see you there.